Let's get started here. There's pizza, as you know. Feel free to grab pizza. I'm going to start the meeting, though, with some bad news. You might maybe take a guess in terms of what that might be. Money. So, I just met with the provost, actually, right before the meeting. And as some of you might know, he's the one who kind of holds the purse strings on the RCOS fund. Also, a little bit of history. Sean O'Sullivan, obviously, is given this large chunk of money in about 06 or 07. We're running out. And this is more than twice as many students as we had last summer. So I'm going to also talk with Morthy this afternoon to see kind of how we can make this all work. But I think the bottom line is going to be that no one in this room is going to make that $3,500. So there's going to be a lower amount, depending on if you're a mentor, if you've done RCOS before, and then if you're brand new to RCOS. So definitely not good news to start the meeting off here. And that might mean that a couple of you I know are working on projects like with other faculty members and using, since it is open source, using RCOS as a way to get funding and so on. Definitely I'd suggest talking with those faculty members or the professors you're working with and saying, hey, the funding doesn't look like it's going to be here via RCOS. Is there funding that you have that can fund us over the summer? Other ideas to try to put out an email. I know Morthy's very creative coming up with ideas. So between Morthy and I and the provost, we'll figure out what it's going to look like this summer. What else? Questions? There might not be any questions.
Yes, sir. Do you have any idea how much we'd be looking at? Would we be looking like, what would be?
So how much? Yes, good. I don't have a clear picture yet. What I need to do is get the RCOS kind of bottom line, how much is in that RCOS fund, and then see, all right, the provost mentioned, well, for those 3 levels that I mentioned, like if you're a mentor, he said somewhere between $2 and $3 grand would make sense. He didn't say any other recommendations for below that, but it looks, my gut feeling would be maybe just like a fall spring semester where it's about 1,200. That's kind of my gut feeling right now. But I will know more this afternoon, or I hope I will know more this afternoon and can share via email. As you guys figure out what to do, some of you might need to scramble and, oh, no, I can't afford to be here for the summer. Hopefully that's not the case for too many of you or any of you. I have a feeling it might be. Other questions? What else I might be forgetting? Yes?
As a result of this, how long is it going to be put off until we're paid, whatever? Like, is it going to be, are we going to get a normal salary until funding runs out, or is it going to be?
Yeah, so the normal, like once all the forms are in, it follows some normal, I forget, Pam might have emailed me a date when the first paycheck would be. But whenever that happens to be, so if the first paycheck is, I don't know what the pay period is now, but 3 weeks from now, or if it was 5 weeks from now, or if it was later, it'll be that whatever amount you come up with will be paid during that whatever time. So the time you get your first paycheck would basically be based on when all the paperwork gets through all the offices. So, and at the moment, none of that is handed off to the next office. So that'll happen this week.
Is one of the possibilities that they're going to force new RCOS members to do it only for credit?
Well, that's something actually that we're going to do in the fall.
Yeah.
And the aim was, let's do that in the fall and keep the summer going as it was, which obviously didn't quite work. So I think what's going to happen in future summers, not this one. This one, unless we have no money left, this one I'd like to see the members, to be able to stick with RCOS. Keep doing it. But come fall, yeah, in the fall semester we'll implement that new policy. Another hand goes over.
I was going to ask the same question about credit.
Good, other, yes, sir.
When do you think you'll have a definite answer answer that.
I will hopefully have details this afternoon, whether they're set in stone, might be able to, hand it off to the provost, and hopefully say, yep, that sounds good. And I'll aim high, and get likely maybe lower some of the numbers. Yes?
I know that, at least for myself, it's a big cost to like try to make here, during the summer.
Yeah.
And with the thought of funding going out, is the idea of remote ARCOS funding at all?
What was the last part?
Remote ARCOS, like doing it in Skype?
Yeah, remote ARCOS. That did come to my mind as well as, okay, well, if we're cutting funding, then it would make sense that,
Because it made sense that the funding was higher, so it
Yeah.
had place to be, but when it's much lower, like it's not like it's going to be, it wasn't really balanced anymore.
yeah, so for some of you I know coming from afar, even long distances, or even just getting here for every meeting, based on what else you might be up to this summer. I have a feeling we're gonna want to change that, and relax that rule a bit. It certainly makes sense, yeah.
At least when people signed up already.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also have another question, for those of us doing open hardware projects, paying for said materials, is there, like, if the amount that we're given isn't enough, is there a way for us to be like, hey, can we request
Can we
money
get-
for
yeah.
this?
Good question. I know that Jarrell mentioned.
Probably not.
Probably
In the
not.
past, it's been kind of a case-by-case basis,
Alright,
like, we'll try, but if it's not something we're able to get donated from wherever, there's most likely not gonna be a budget for buying, it, especially if it's a real expensive item.
alright.
Yep.
Is it that we're like very immediately going to run dry with this set, or is it like, oh, if we continue at this pace, we're going to run dry?
At the moment, I don't know, because I don't know what the budget amount is. I have a feeling that, actually, I didn't even mention the number. If you do the math, and we went with $3,500 each, which is what we've done in the past, that's $250,000 right here in this room for the summer. And I think that our budget amount, I'm trying to remember, I saw the number last year, at the end of last year, is, might be close to that, or a little bit, I think it's a little bit more than that. It's kind of taking a huge chunk out of the funds. So which would mean that in the fall or the spring, we maybe could do it, where we'd only do it for credit or something like that. I mean, that said, we're looking also from, whether it's Sean O'Sullivan, who's now on the board of trustees, or other sources, to get funding, various, not necessarily alums, but alums who go to these various, like Appleton and so on, maybe they can have something coming back, so keep this program going. Yeah.
Is ARCOS funded just by a single lump sum donation, or is it like
Yep.
a solicited quarter by quarter basis?
It was a lump sum donation, it was about 06 or 07, by Sean O'Sullivan, who then more recently became one of the members of the board of trustees. So one idea is, in this summer, kind of meeting with him and saying, hey, ARCOS is up and running, look at our numbers, they're, through the roof, look at all these cool projects, look at all this good educational experience that all the students are getting, and so on. You got any more money? See if he writes another big check. So that's definitely part of the game plan. Yeah.
If we get underpaid for the first part of the summer and then somehow someone finds the money, will we be compensated for what we missed?
To raise it back up? Good question. That sounds like a good plan. I would say, I would definitely put that to the provost to try to, hey, can we up it now? Absolutely. Yeah.
On a similar thread, is there any person or organization, be it students, investors, be it more funding can be added to this? It does affect kind of a lot of people.
Yeah, because you're looking at living expenses for the summer.
Yeah.
So what doors did you knock on? At the moment, I don't know. I'll see if I can come up with something more that might have more ideas there. Yep.
I'm not really knowledgeable in what companies would be interested in donating, but are there any that come to mind that would be interested in funding ARCOS?
Well, I think that, yeah, that might be something we can do in the short term.
Corporate funding is pretty helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, our plan in general to this point has been, okay, yeah, the money's gonna run out at some point, so we should start porting and knocking on doors of these companies. I think we have to, rather than thinking about doing that and planning to do that, we better do that like this week and so on. So I guess with that question, with these two questions, if there's folks you know, previous RCOS folks that you're in contact with, folks in the area working, et cetera, open source related stuff, feel free to say, hey, you know, you're a big company or you're a small company with some money, would you like to fund RCOS? We haven't really formalized how we do that yet, but now it certainly makes sense. Yep.
Might it be within the spirit of RCOS to like maybe create a branch that specifically focuses on finding donations and additional funding?
Sounds like a great idea to me, sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Folks be interested in that? Supporting folks for money? I see some hands raised. Cool. Well, that sounds great.
I'll be the mentor for it.
Sounds good. Yeah, other questions, other ideas? Yep.
It's more like people staying here over the summer. Like rent may be covered by parents or maybe also be covered by the stipend, but food-wise, that can start getting interesting.
Yeah.
Would RPI and SNEXO be able to help out with like maybe like partial meal plans for certain, or like on a case-by-case basis?
Something to look into. I don't know, what do they do over the summer generally? Just
They
grab
have
dollars or?
like, they have like 21 meal blocks available or things like that for
Okay.
reduced, for a smaller rate, but
But it still costs money,
yeah.
obviously. Definitely something we can check out and see if they're willing to cut their rates for us. Good. Other questions or ideas? Lots of ideas. Yeah.
I know we've done some stuff at like San Marino Center in terms of like entrepreneurial ventures. Maybe we can like go out, have more exhibitions, get our name out there, and try to source some donations like that.
Yeah, I mean, definitely to this point, we've gotten good publicity from a number of RCO students going to hackathons and so on, and winning, you know, replacing those hackathons, you know, doing really well. And then getting some, I don't know if I have it written, in kind of a newspaper that goes out. Yeah, this thing, Inside Rensselaer. I know a lot of alums see this in the upcoming alumni magazines that alums get. There's been articles in there, there will be articles in there. So I think that's one avenue we're looking, to kind of put that out to, hey, here's what we're doing, here's all the cool stuff. But definitely to keep doing that or trying to use those kinds of events by all means. Yeah, for those who don't know, there's something called the Foundry, which is part of, I think, the School of Management. I'm sure I'll butcher his name, but Professor Jason Karamovich. He's in charge of that, and so he always wants to get involved with RCOS, so vice versa as well. So by all means, obviously, we can kind of work together on with those folks. Good? Well, not good, but other ideas? Questions? Yes, sir.
Even though this is open source, is there any way that code itself sometimes generates profit? I don't actually know. To me, the way it's been
If you found companies that are relying on your piece of open source software or you're supporting a piece of software that you can probably convince them to use. Of course, to do that, you need to actually show that you're contributing meaningfully to the code. There's certainly a lot of companies that do pay for people to work on open source projects. You can also look at stuff like Google Summer of Code. I think you're probably too late for that now, but there might be other programs like that. I don't know.
Yeah, and I know, I mean, actually, Kitware. Some of you might know Kitware is a local company, does a lot of open source. So maybe that might be a door that we knocked on today and see what they might do. Yep.
I built a list of like probably 30-ish companies from organizing RPI in the fall. Like probably send your way, put on offensive doors.
Cool.
20 of them responded, so.
So 30 companies on a list,
Yeah.
20 have responded for hack RPI in the fall. So that sounds like, yeah, lots of folks on that. Cool. Good, well, definitely, the ideas that came out today, email me more details if you have some. And like I said, hopefully this afternoon I'll have some more definitive details, bottom lines, and so on. So you can figure out, yeah, how we're gonna do this summer. Last questions?
I guess
Yep.
the next obvious thing is that there should be a project where it's a little bit better than an observatory, where it gives more of an overview of all the RCOS projects, so we could send it to potential sponsors, being like, hey, this is what we're doing, so.
Yeah.
You might want to get screenshots.
Yeah.
Yeah, we want to look good.
Yeah.
Our website is kind of not up to date. Does anyone have the keys to that? I know.
I think I do, but I'm not gonna touch it, so.
Anyone want to jump in?
It's all Django, I think. So, oh, if you like really loaded Python, it's great.
Well, maybe from the mentors, we can figure out how to either tackle that or get some folks tackling that. That'd be cool. Because I know every semester, Morthy tends to put together kind of just a Word doc or a Google doc of here's all the stuff we did. You know, this student won this award, 3 students in the undergraduate research symposium, the hackathons and so on. So, you know, kind of all of our accolades. Morthy tries to collect those and summarize those. All right, other ideas, questions? There's pizza.